Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to another short episode on conversations in the Quran. We're going to try and connect with them. So we're doing it on Surah Yusuf, and we're going to today look at the story of Yusuf alayhi salam with the wife of the Aziz. So, Bismillah, salatu wa salam ala, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah, Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. May whatever I am to share be of benefit to everybody, and me be the first recipient of taking the take-home lessons for myself. So here the conversation starts. There are many, many conversations in Surah Yusuf. It's one of the beautiful qasas, asanal qasas, the best of surah. And there's been other conversations also, but I'm picking up the one in the face of today's immorality, of everything, how timeless this conversation from that time is. So, you know, whenever we think, oh, but they didn't have the fitna we had, or they didn't have the challenges we had. No, these challenges have been throughout the ages, throughout of hasad, of jealousy, of things like this too, you know, and so here it goes. So in the from 23 she says, and I'm not going to read the whole ayah, it's a bit long, but Bismillah, I'm going to pick up that she in whose house she sought to seduce him from his true self. She fastened the doors and said, and so it's on the conversation that I want to get to, وَقَالَتْ Hayta laka, come to me, my dear, and come here. Hayta. Hayta is a word that you can look in the dictionary, get into the meanings of the Arabic, and that's what she said. And he said, Qala mazallah, God forbid, Allah forbid, heaven forbid. You know, that's what we say, mazallah. You know, when we say a comment like, or they say that he's in partner with Allah, then we always say mazallah. Heaven forbid, Allah forbid that is not the way it is, you know. Na'uzu billah, that's the kind of phrases we use, that Allah forbid, truly. And then what does he continue to say? He says, Innahu Rabbi, the master of the house, Asana Maswa. He has, my Lord, the Aziz of the house, he has made my sojourn agreeable here, my stay. Asana, the best. And then, Innahu la yuflihu zalimin. So those who do wrong, who do zulm. So he's recognizing whatever she's up to is zulm on his behalf, if he reacts to it in the way she would want, and her own forwardness towards him. So, and then in the next ayah it says that, and this is what, again, when we did in our tafsir, there was such a lot of detail on this word, and it says, وَلَقَدْ hammat bihi. She hammat him, she desired him, and there are a lot, I mean, if you go into the Arabic, it's tremendous. And then it was wahamma biha, and he too would have desired her, but lola an ra'a burhana. And this is beautiful, because he would have also desired her, but for the evidence he saw from Allah, from the burhan, rabbihi. And so that is how we might turn away from him all evil and shameful deeds, because innahu min ibadina mukhlisin. He was from our mukhlasin. He was from our true and sincere people. So this is the background Allah is giving also on it in the conversation. So anyway, and then it goes on that they race to the door, and then she tears he races ahead, of course, and she tears his shirt from the back, and they find at the door. So a couple of things that come up here is, okay, so he was a bukhlis, but just in her conversation of, I would love to one day go into more detail of those words, hammat and hayta, of how beautifully in Allah also gives it. He doesn't create a long scene of a lewd, this is what she wanted to do, this is how she was dressed, or this is what, you know, in some of the Israeliyats, they have how many doors she closed and all that, but that's irrelevant. It's just stick with the story. That's what she wanted, and you can understand it all in your mind what she wanted, and how he resisted. Again, it goes to show, if you want to talk about we have so many challenges, don't you think he had challenges? Don't you think he, day in, day out, living with an also beautiful young woman, what he would have, he was just baligh, he was a young lad, or whatever it was, what do you think was doing it to him? And yet, because he saw the signs, what is it? La an ra, because he saw the signs of burhana, of the burhan, the proofs of his. So in one of the mufassir, he say, it's like he saw a vision, and this is extra, but I'm just saying for us also that when we are caught in these situations, try bring to your mind all the goodness, your salawat, your kalimas, your everything of knowing, no, my Allah's there. And so they say on this Burhan, it's like on the, it's, what is it, holograms. He saw the whole of his father, grandfather, great-grandfather, because the beautiful thing about Yusuf alayhi salam, and I've done this before, is that he's the only prophet who's got a lineage of 4 direct descendants who are all prophets. So imagine how much goodness already he has imbibed, plus the beauty that he was given anyway. So now, as soon as they get to the door, they get Sayyidaha. What do they see? Duburin وَأَلْفَيْ they Sayyidaha Ladal Bab, at the door. When they got to the door, her Aziz, her husband was there, and Sayyidaha, her Sayyid. And she immediately says, قالت ما جزاء من أراد بأهلك su'an. What is the this is what it is. This is what I also wanted to. She says, what is the fitting punishment for one who had an evil design against your wife? Okay, and individually the words also, what she says, ma jaza. So when we say jazakallah, that's why we say jazakallah khair, because the jaza is recompense. And she says, what's the recompense for one who had irada, who had intention of alaha su'an, evil intention against your ahlaha. Ahla is like, it's like your family. When we say wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, so it's ahliyu against your wife. And she continues, but and illa an yusjana azaban alim, and the prison is going to be a grievous punishment for him. How she turns the tails. I mean, this is what you need to capture, and it's for us as females, I would say, and Allah forgive me if I'm wrong, and I hope I don't get flack and egg on my face for saying it, but you know how quick we as women, when we're caught in the guilty position, how quick we are to turn that. Oh, but it was that. You have to provide an excuse. Why did I burn the food? Oh, because there was a phone call there. There's somebody at the door, the gardener. You've got 10,000 excuses immediately to counter. It wasn't your fault. It wasn't you. You're not to blame. And you shift it onto another. And so, elsewhere we did, in a conversation we were doing how women are supposed to be not intellectually, so with it or something. But look how quick we are to defend ourselves tooth and nail. How quickly she turned the tables. How quickly she was able to say, and so, this is called presence of mind, and inshallah I'll go into it, how the Mufassir say that they commented on it, not as something to be praiseworthy, but they still picked this up from just this conversation of what is it that, and I think, let me just go to it, it was, I think it was Imam Razi, let me see, what did he say? And the takeaway conversation in it is, let me get to it when I do, but it was like he was, yes, Badawi emphasizes her cleverness in turning the situation against Yusuf, exploiting societal power dynamics. As a woman of high status accusing a servant, she presumes her word would carry more weight. So elsewhere, cunning. So while quick thinking is often a virtue on the spot, on the fly, it becomes a tool for moral failures when used to deflect blame and deceive others. And she exemplifies how intelligence can be misused when driven by desire or fear. And like we say, jealousy and hasad drives us to certain things. So that's, and inshallah, I'll get more to it, inshallah, if we have a moment. But here, and so what does he say? Yusuf alayhi salam's response, his immediate also response is to seek Allah's protection. Okay, that was in Ma'azallah. But then when she shifts the blame, he also immediately he defends him. He speaks calmly, but about the truth, but without resorting to anger or accusations or anything. He defends himself, and the beauty is that if you can stay calm in the face of rage or being accused. Sometimes either we freeze or we do other things. So this is why I want to bring these conversations, is learn from these conversations how when you're blamed at work for bribery, for something it was actually your boss, but you get the flack because the papers are sitting on your desk and you're whatever government, and you're like, no, it wasn't me. Trust in Allah. And no, so he says, she was the one who sought to seduce me, okay, from my true self, bin nafsi. And that's all he said. He said, no, it was her. He wasn't going to say, oh, here I go in trouble. We the downtrodden. We have no recourse. We have nothing to be able to counter this accusation. And we do sometimes go under into victim mentality. No, he said, no, it was she. So, and subhanallah, how quick Allah then doesn't have this ongoing conversation. Like, we also say in our deen, don't stick around to have long arguments with anybody, foolish or even otherwise. Don't want to have the last word. Just say your say and move away. So arguing isn't, and so in the Quran, Allah captures only the bullet point to, so he says what he says. Maybe there was more bits in between, we don't know. Allah has just captured this. This is the timeless message. So then what happens? Then one of her household, shahidun min ahliha, from her family, from her household, there was somebody who witnessed. What is he witnessing? And he says, in kana qamisuhu, if his qamis is kudda, is torn min qablihi, from behind, is torn from the front, فَصَدَّقَتْ, she is right, and وَهُوَ الْكَاذِبِينَ, he's the liar and she's the truthful if it's torn from the front. Now if وَإِنْ كَانَ قَمِيصُهُ, his qamis, kudda, is torn min duburin, from behind him on his back, فَكَذَّبَتْ, she is the one who's telling kadhaba, she's the one who's lying, وَهُوَ مِنَ الصَّادِقِينَ, and he is from the sadiq. And so when they saw the shirt was torn from the back, the husband said, what does he say? قَالَ إِنَّهُ, he said to them, مِنْ كَيْدَ كُنَّ إِنْ كَيْدَ كُنَّ azim. So the plotting and the kaida came in the beginning when we talked about Yusuf alayhi salam, his father. He said the kaida, they might plot against you, the brothers. So here they say, here talking about the snare of you woman, truly it's mighty, your snare. And then he goes off, please overlook it, and so to Joseph he says, Yusuf arid an hada, just overlook, go over it. And for his wife he says, fastaghfir lidhunubika, and seek forgiveness for your sin. For you, for innaka, truly, innaki, truly you, kunti, you, it's in the feminine, min al khati'in, you are in khata, you are in the wrong, you are at fault. So that's all the conversation. It goes on to how the ladies of the palace get together. But now let me just go, and I want to give you, as much as I can, just the take-home messages. So about clear evidence and rational judgment when it's used with logic. It's good detective work in the 26 of that shaheed. And then grace and forgiveness is what the Aziz is asking Yusuf alayhi salam to do, the way he handles the matter of addressing wrongs with dignity and seeking forgiveness and trying to keep things calm. And so she was quick at turning tables. So in the present day reflections, what we can do is avoid compounding mistakes by lying or deflecting blame. Recognize the destructive power of unchecked desires and societal privilege. And this is just rampant today. We had a teacher once long ago, and she said, you women create such a lot of fitna for men. They are going out for work, they are doing this, and you are just in their face, your boobs hanging out, your backside hanging out, your everything. What kind of fitna is it? And then, it's not to put the blame on anything, but that's why this whole concept of hair is there. Inshallah, when we do Musa alayhi salam, we'll say just how hair comes into the picture with the women who comes to fetch him to take him to the father. But that's there. Then upholding justice by prioritizing evidence is so significant. And so this episode reflects the importance of staying true to one's principles and even even in the most challenging of situations, and we think we've got plenty of challenging situations in our world, while also encouraging justice, forgiveness, and personal accountability. So I've got lots of notes. Whoever would like, you're welcome to email me. I'd love to share it with you. But these are all just, what do we get from this conversation, this timeless from long ago? What do we get home for today? So with that, I'd like to end off and say I pray whatever's been said is beneficial for the listeners and for us, and may we end with that. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun al mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.